Hello and welcome to today's Veteran. I'm Kate West. On this episode, we'll hear from Lieutenant Colonel Scott LaRonde, the recently appointed commander of the Army ROTC Battalion at Florida Southern College, and one of the cadets in the program, Matt Leonard. Later in the show, Polk County Commissioner Ed Smith shares some memories from his 28 years on active service in the U.S. Navy. But first, stay tuned for an update on news and events in the veteran community. Fall in Polk County, your SITREP is to follow. For some people, a new year means a new beginning. For others, though, it's the start of another tax season. Veterans can breathe a little easier this spring because the Internal Revenue Service offers free tax preparation for veterans. In fact, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance and the Tax Counseling for the Elderly programs give free tax help to all taxpayers who qualify. Details can be found online at the IRS or VA websites. Residents in the Water's Edge community in Lake Wales wanted a flagpole to proudly and prominently display an American flag at the front of the campus. So they raised the money to make the dream a reality. A special dedication ceremony will be held on President's Day, February 18th, to raise the flag for the first time. Those who plan to attend the event are asked to wear red, white, and blue. Support Polk County's wounded veterans at the Healing Heroes Freedom Fest Motorcycle and Car Rally out of the Sun and Fun grounds on February 23rd. Enjoy music, vendors, a food truck rally, and special guest appearance from Ryan Hurst of the FX show Sons of Anarchy. General admission is just $5 at the gate or $3 with a military ID. Funds raised at this event will benefit the Healing Heroes Network, a nonprofit charity committed to providing financial assistance for medical care to military personnel who have been injured in the line of duty since September 11, 2001. Find out more about the Healing Heroes Network and available services at healingheroes.org. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta announced in late January that he would be lifting the ban that prevented women from serving in combat positions. Changes will not be immediate, but as service chiefs develop plans to move forward, these jobs are expected to be available for women to seek out as soon as this year, according to a statement from a senior Pentagon official. The services will have until 2016 to implement all the changes. It may be important to note that job requirements and standards are not changing. Instead, women will now be allowed to compete with men for positions for which they are already qualified. Women currently make up about 14% of the 1.4 million active military personnel. Lieutenant Colonel Scott LaRonde said this announcement will not change the way he runs the Army ROTC program at Florida Southern College, because all of the cadets under his command receive the same training, regardless of gender. Let's hear more from LaRonde about the program at FSC and the upcoming Charles Rubidoux Memorial Golf Scramble.
Since 1951, the ROTC program at Florida Southern College has been preparing officers for military leadership roles in the Army. Joining us in studio is the commander of the ROTC program, that'd be Lieutenant Colonel Scott LaRonde. He's a professor of military science.
Thanks for having me today.
And also joining us is Matt Leonard. Matt's a cadet second lieutenant. Matt, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right. Guys, thanks for coming on. I want to talk a little bit about the rich military tradition that Florida Southern ROTC program has. We were talking a little bit off camera and produced 9 generals.
9 general officers, that's correct. For a program that's not really as large as some of the major programs such as West Point or Texas A&M or VMI, the program here does very, very well. And we've had 9 general officers, both in the active Army and in the National Guard and Army Reserves, graduate from the program.
Let's talk a little bit about now. See, I couldn't help but notice you mentioned that Texas A&M program, and you are an Aggie, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Had to get that in there.
I did. You know, the whole Southeastern Conference invasion includes Lakeland. Just so you know.
Well, Scott, let's talk a little bit about the program for those that might not know what exactly an ROTC program. What exactly is it?
Our program's mission is to develop young leaders for eventual commission into the United States Army, be that the active duty or the Army Reserves or the Florida National Guard. It's a 4-year program. We like to have our young men and women join us when they're freshmen, but they can join us later at the start of their junior year. And we teach them fundamentals of leadership. We teach them some basic military tactics, and we teach them team building and team development activities with the intent, again, of getting their confidence up, not only giving them problems to solve, letting them to develop their own solutions, but then organizing and in tasking and assigning responsibilities to other members of the team so that they can accomplish the goals and the tasks that we gave them.
Joining us also is Matt. And Matt, from a student standpoint, you being a cadet student, talk a little bit about what your day is like as an ROTC officer and being a student, because yours isn't like everybody else's.
Not even close. Starts off with the alarm going off at 5 o'clock in the morning, rolling off to PT. Some people would think, hey, that's hard to do, but it's got me in good shape. I'm pretty sure if I didn't have that discipline.
And for the non-military folks, go ahead and explain to them at home what PT is.
Just physical training. Just getting there at 6 o'clock in the morning, going for a run, doing push-ups, sit-ups, just trying to get in the best physical shape that I can. But after that then I continue on as a regular college student, going to classes, ensuring I have all my homework done. The nice thing about this is, it's really taught me to have discipline, to stay ahead, not waste the last minute to finish my homework.
Let's talk a little bit about how that discipline works into, not only in your military career, but in your academics going forward with that. How does it help you prepare for academically challenges?
Mostly just staying ahead, doing things early, not waiting until the last minute. Myself, I'm a chemistry major, and I have a 3.7, and so it seemed to work out pretty well so far.
Where do you foresee yourself going out of leaving Florida Southern?
My branch is going to be engineering. I'll find out in about a month when I'm going to my basic course and when I'm going to my unit, or where my unit is. Now,
with cadets like this, the job's got to be easy, but you have to be commended yourself. Been in the top 15% in the last 2 years. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's a very good program compared to the other schools in the region. Now, my region consists of 39 ROTC programs from Louisiana up to Tennessee. And we typically rank in the top 10, top 15%. In our particular class, or Matt's particular class, did exceptionally well. The Army ROTC program awards a category called a Distinguished Military Graduate. And distinguished military graduates are typically given to the top 20% of cadet graduates each year. 40% of Matt's class, including Matt from Florida Southern College, will graduate as distinguished military graduates. So we're doubling the national average in the program.
For those at home, words like duty, honor, country, courage, things along that lines, they're just words, but these are the values that you instill in these young officer candidates. Talk about the work that goes into instilling those values into them.
Well, oddly enough, it's not that hard. A large chunk of our cadets come from Central Florida. Although I've only lived here about 9 months, I noticed that that's not really hard for us to install in these. A lot of the young men and women from Central Florida and the other areas we have, they already have that sense of duty and honor. It's why they walk into our doors. So what we're really doing is refining and giving it a military meaning. And we like to also talk about civic responsibilities as well. But it's not a complete overhaul like it is maybe in some other programs.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the people that you get in, the officers candidates. Do they do their military commitment and they're done, or roughly percentage-wise, what are we talking about that make a career out of it?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, honestly. From what I've seen, it's probably around 40% total. The obligation is 8 years, whether it's 3 years of active duty and 5 years of reserves, or 8 years of active duty, or all reserves. It depends on the contract you take when you're in ROTC. But I think those kind of decisions are really individual decisions. From what I've seen from this program, the graduates, it's their choice, what they want to do. And a lot of them do pursue a career, but I have several who work for me now who graduated from the program, decided that an active career was not in their best interest, that their dreams lied elsewhere, and some of them work for me now here back at Florida Southern College.
Talk about some of the values that they take out of the program, even if they don't make the career, the military career. Talk about the values that they take out, and there are so many things. I had a 9-year career, 9 and some change, and every day I still bring all those with me.
Probably the most important value that I hope they take out is a sense of duty, because duty doesn't end just when you're in uniform. You have a duty to vote. You have a duty to enhance or improve the quality of life in your community. You have a duty to volunteer. You have a duty to espouse these values or advertise these values to the rest of our community. So whether we're in uniform or out of uniform, I think every uniformed service member or every veteran has that sense of duty that doesn't ever leave them.
Matt, what's it mean to you to put on that uniform, not only of a cadet, but when you finish the program at Florida Southern? What's it going to mean to you to put on the uniform of the officer of the United States Army?
When I put on this uniform I realize I'm representing more than myself. I'm representing the nation. And then I'm also part of a brotherhood that I know anyone else in this uniform, they have my back.
One thing about the program at Florida Southern, like we said, we have 9 general officers come out of it. It's rich in tradition. And what's it mean to you to follow in the footsteps of that?
Oh, it means a lot. I mean, this program has really trained me to be a good leader, and hopefully, I can be in the halls of Florida Southern as another great officer.
Scott, one of the names that came through the halls at Florida Southern was Charles Rubidoux. Let's talk a little bit about Charles.
Yeah, Charles was a graduate of our program. He was commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant in the United States Army. In 2005, he was killed in Iraq. So every year, to remember that sacrifice, we host a memorial golf tournament on the 22nd of March with the intent of raising money for a scholarship that we award to a cadet each year. Charles's family comes and they participate in the tournament with us, and we get businesses and entrepreneurs from throughout the community will volunteer their time or their effort to making this a really good tournament. This year, Matt is actually heading up that golf tournament for us. All the organization for this tournament and most of our activities in the program are organized and run by the senior class. And this is Matt's spring task this year, is to make sure that tournament goes off without a hitch.
And Matt, you get to learn the greatest military term of all, logistics. Mm-hmm. What's it take to put on an event like this?
A lot of work. We actually started doing this in December, making sure that we have the place organized, making sure we're getting the food there, making sure we have the people there, that we have people directing them to where they need to go, so they're there at the right time. This year is our 8th year of actually doing this, and hopefully it'll be a great tournament.
Let's talk a little bit. How many years have you been participating in it, and how have you seen it grow, and how have you changed it?
This is our. I've been doing
for
this
you alone.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 4 years, ever since a freshman. It tends to change a lot every year. Last year we actually had it at the Bartow Golf Course. This year, like Colonel LaRonde was saying, we're having it at the Cleveland Heights Golf Course. Every year it just seems to get better. We learn off our mistakes, and
there's such a sense of pride when it comes to our military members serving, and how do you foresee people getting out and serving this program, coming out and supporting this program? How do you see them acting towards supporting this program?
We actually get a lot of support from our alumni, whether it's donations or a lot of people come out and play. We have a ton of previous year participants.
Logistically, here we go. If I'm interested, say I get a foursome out there, how do I go about becoming part of it?
You can sign up on the website at flsouthern.edu/ROTC golf, or you can call the department and we can give you more information there.
And of course, Scott mentioned that sponsors are a big program. You guys still accepting sponsors?
Yes.
And how can they do as such?
Same way, is either doing it online or calling the program.
The cool thing about the ROTC program is you have a background that's helping support this, but you guys also need volunteers?
We have all the cadets volunteer, so we just love to have everyone out there to play or support us in any way they can. Same
way that they can, whether they can contribute financially or play in it, if they want to volunteer, same context?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Scott, let's talk a little bit about, you got another event that you want to promote also.
Yes, we do. Florida Southern College ROTC is actually partnered with 2 other colleges here in town, Polk State College as well as Southeastern University. Southeastern University's faculty is really looking to expand the student participation in the ROTC program. As such, they've developed a Military Appreciation Day. The 12th of March, their varsity baseball team is having a doubleheader, and they've designated those games as a Military Appreciation Day. In coordination with us, we've arranged to have the Orange County chopper that the U.S. Army had custom made is going to come out here and be on display. There's also going to be food and prizes and other such items there at the game. We're hoping for a very good turnout. The focus is the idea to get students aware of the ROTC program, but more importantly of military service in general.
And can anybody come out to it?
Anybody can come out to it, absolutely.
It's a perfect opportunity for you at home. Come out, check out, watch some great baseball, and say thank you to not only our future leaders, but I'm sure there'll be some veterans there, and say thank you to their service. It's a very simple process. And Scott, he is Lieutenant Colonel Scott LaRonde. He is the battalion commander and professor of military science at Florida Southern, and of course Matt Leonard. Matt is a cadet, second lieutenant, enrolled at Florida Southern College. Scott, I thank you very much for your service to this great nation, and Matt, I thank you very much for what you're about to do for this great country.
Thank you.
You're always welcome on Today's Veteran.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hi, my name is Ed Smith. I'm Polk County Commissioner representing District 3, and I'm a veteran of the United States Navy. I spent 28 years on active duty, and 14 of those years were at sea on 6 different ships. And I think one that's most interesting tour I want to talk about a little bit was probably on board the USS LaSalle. USS LaSalle was an AGF, as she was designated at that time, which is a flagship. And she was the flagship of the commander of the Middle East Force and home ported in Manama, Bahrain, which was interesting. And that meant that the flagship there never came back to the United States. It stayed over there in Bahrain, Manama, which was the capital city of Bahrain, which is an island in the Persian Gulf. So people would come aboard the ship and they stayed for 1 year, and then they went back to the United States as individuals. And so they'd just fly you in, you stayed there for your year, and you left. The interesting thing was that on that particular ship, number one was the operating conditions, the heat, and things that we just weren't used to. The city of Manama was very interesting just to walk around. It's almost like a different world, I guess you'd have to say. The most interesting part was the old part of the city, which was called the souk. One of the things that was a big seller in souk, of course, was gold. And if you went down on Gold Street, you could see the windows of every shop on both sides of the street as you walked by were just filled with gold. There were gold chains, there was rings, there was bracelets, everything imaginable, but everything was made out of gold. What the percentages of gold were, yeah, you might be unsure. That ship was painted white, which was very unusual. The only ship in the United States Navy that was painted white, and that was because of the heat. I can recall one particular day, I was a Chief Petty Officer when I went aboard. I was in the Chief Petty Officer's quarters, and I noticed, my goodness, it's getting kind of warm in here, and I went over and looked at the thermostat, and it was 80 degrees. I said, wow, the air conditioning must have stopped working. And that was fine until I went out on the quarterdeck and I realized it was 135 degrees outside. So the air conditioning was doing just about all it could do. And so that was one thing. When it came time for maintenance of the ship, we had a little bit of a difficulty there. Located in Manama was the Arab Ship Repair Yard, or as we called ASRI. They were qualified and set up, as a matter of fact, to do maintenance on commercial ships, not on Navy ships. So when we went in there, they could not work on any electronics. They didn't have that capability, but they could do engineering work, which meant pumps, valves, steam lines, those kind of things. They could do that for us. One time we went into the African Marine Yards in Mombasa, Kenya, and we got some work done there. And at one time we went for 1 3-week yard period through the Suez Canal and up into Naples, Italy, to the shipyard there to have some work done. Work was kind of hard to get done on that ship, though, it really was. A lot of things happened that were so interesting. We went to Libertyport one time in the Seychelles, which was just an absolutely beautiful place. We were there, as a matter of fact, when the revolution was going on in Iran. The USS LaSalle removed the last American citizens out of Bandar Abbas, and we picked them up, all the American citizens that were there, and transported them across the Persian Gulf over into a Saudi Arabian port, and they were flown back to the United States. That was a very interesting thing. And there are more things going on. Of course, I don't have time to talk about all the things that happened, but it was a very interesting tour. We were in the Persian Gulf, as I said before. The entrance there, if you recall, is through the Straits of Hormuz, which is a very narrow passage, but one that is very, very busy with the oil tankers coming in and taking the refined petroleum products from the big refineries in Bahrain out through into the Indian Ocean and then to the rest of the world. So of all the tours I had on 6 different ships, as a matter of fact, that was probably the most interesting tour I had on that particular ship. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Scott LaRonde, a professor of military science and battalion commander at Florida Southern College, Army ROTC. In 2005, I was in my first deployment in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. I was stationed in Kuwait, and I commanded an intelligence detachment there. And one of my duties was to routinely meet with several Kuwaiti officials and exchange information with them. I was invited one night to this one gentleman's house. He invited me over for dinner and had established quite an elaborate spread. And we had a wonderful dinner, spending time with his family. And I was talking with him through a translator. We used his translator, who was a Sudanese, and he was 6'9". Real nice gentleman, but he wasn't necessarily a fan of his boss. After dinner, the boss decided he wanted to recite some of his own poetry that he'd written to me, and so we sat down around the living room, and the Sudanese translator sat between us, and the Kuwaiti man started talking and reciting his poetry. And he was getting quite moved by his own poetry, his own words. You can see it in his face, and he was getting kind of very sad, and he was really getting a bit emotional about it. But I was having a hard time maintaining focus on him. I don't speak a lot of Arabic. Rather, in this case, I had to rely on the Sudanese translator, who was having a hard time keeping his composure because he kept laughing. And I couldn't figure out why the Sudanese man was laughing so hard, and the Kuwaiti man was evidently quite emotional about his poetry, and he was really getting excited about reciting his poetry to me. And I don't think he was realizing that he completely lost his translator. So when he finished, I was trying to be very respectful. I didn't mention about the translator, and the translator's just in tears. He's laughing so hard. But I thanked the man for reciting his poetry to me. I told him it was quite wonderful, and that I enjoyed hearing him talking about it, and that I saw the passion that he had for his poetry in his language and in how he presented it. The Sudanese man just kept laughing. And so after that interview was over, or that session was over, the Kuwaiti man excused himself, and I took the opportunity to ask the Sudanese man what was so funny. And his response was, his boss is notoriously inept in poetry, that his poetry makes no sense in either English or Arabic, that the only person who appreciates his poetry is himself. And in this particular case, the poem was so bad that the Sudanese man had a very hard time translating it with a straight face. And so I walked out of that experience very thankful I didn't speak Arabic. I hope I handled the situation well. It didn't cause an international incident, but I'm not sure how long the Sudanese man ended up working for, that Kuwaiti gentleman.
That's all we have for this edition of Today's Veteran. Next month, we will bring you more information about the partnership between the Polk County Adult Day Healthcare Program and the Department of Veterans Affairs. Until then, catch up on past episodes of this show on the Polk County website and YouTube. Remember that for help and information regarding claims, benefits, and services available to veterans and their families, call the Veterans Service Office or log on to the Polk County website.